Hi everybody, and welcome to this talk from Charlotte Lastoweckyi from Ashoka. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for a few more attendees, but we'll be getting going pretty soon. Okie dokie. My name is Michelle Wheeler. I'm an enterprise coordinator at Greater Manchester Combined Authority, and I'd like to welcome you to a session part of the Bridge GM Green Industry Skills Fair, part of the Meet Your Future campaign. The event today includes employer-led workshops. We've got a video broadcast and some talks as well. The fair will give you the chance to hear from people who work in sustainability in a wide range of sectors and roles, and why it's important to them that they're green for both our society and the future. There's lots of different types of projects and roles across Greater Manchester focusing on helping us use clean energy and sustainable materials, and our speakers will also explain what jobs are in demand and career pathways for entering the world of work. The Green Industry Skills Fair is part of the wider Meet Your Future campaign, which was launched by the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, in April 2019. Since then, over 50,000 students across GM have had the chance to gain experiences in the workplace and have encounters with employers in a variety of different types of environments. These events, both virtual over the past year and a bit and face-to-face before that, have helped students learn about different roles and careers and gain first-hand experience of the world of work. So today's event, this afternoon session, is a bit different. We've got a talk from Charlotte, who is a youth climate activist. She's now a student at UCLan in Preston. In 2019, I believe, Charlotte organised a climate strike in Manchester, an amazing event. And she's going to talk about how her interest in the environment and climate change in general led her to volunteer in this way, and the path that it's taken her on, the skills she's learned, and so on. We've got the chat function today, so just use that to ask any questions and we'll moderate them and put them on and ask them at the end. Charlotte, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and share my screen now. Let's see if things work. I'm assuming people can, yes, technology working for once. Anyways, so hello. So my name's Charlotte Lastoweckyi and I'm an Ashoka Youth Change Leader in Manchester. So I thought I'd just start with just a little bit of background about me, just to kind of show you guys who I am as a person, because obviously I'm not just a social climate justice activist. I'm not just working in a charity. So I'm 19 years old, so I'm still a teenager, still going through the motions of that. And I come from a very kind of mundane working class background. I went to just a regular state school, regular primary school, sixth form, and now I'm at UCLan. And the way I describe myself is that I'm a social or climate justice activist. So social activism is an international action with the goal of bringing about social change. And then basically an activist is kind of anyone who is fighting for a change in society. And then people sometimes get a little bit about what climate justice is. But basically, climate justice is a term used to frame climate change as an ethical and political issue rather than just purely an environmental one, because everything is kind of interlinked with each other. Such an example of this would be that working class people will be affected by the climate crisis more severely and more quickly than those of the upper middle class, which links into the classism that we face in society today. And then I'm a first year criminology and sociology student. And the reason that I study these is because of my volunteering, and I'm a very true believer in the butterfly effect and everything happening for a reason. So criminology, I'm really interested in the green criminology, how corporations commit these massive crimes against the environment and get away with it. And then sociology, I'm really interested in how political leaders like respond to young people and that sort of situations, and that's kind of what I'm going to hopefully be specialising in my second and third year, which I'm very excited about. But I'm actually here to talk to you today about kind of how I got here, like why am I here today? How am I speaking at this event? How did I get involved with all these things? So I'm basically going to take you through the journey of me as a social justice activist over the past 2.5 years. And I really want to show people that no matter your backgrounds, your experiences, or what you perceive yourself as being, that you can create opportunity to be yourself, and doors can open in very unexpected ways. So how it began for me. So taking that first step was really, really important and significant and integral for me doing this right now. So I attended my first Youth Strike for Climate event back in February of 2019, which kind of seems like a lifetime away, and I just like dismissed 2020 even like happened in my brain sometimes, but that was like over 2 years ago at this point. And I saw a Facebook event, I saw a Facebook post about it, and I had always cared about the environment. I just thought that the government were doing stuff about it. I learned about it like very briefly in one of my science classes. And I thought to myself, oh, I'll go, I'll research to write a speech and it'll be fine. And the more I researched about the climate crisis and kind of what the government wasn't doing and the lack of support and the lack of action the government was taking, the more angry, frustrated, devastated, and just so frustrated I got. And I funneled all of that into my activism, and I still do. So I went to that. And if you had seen videos of me from February of 2019 to even September of 2019, my self-confidence, my self-esteem, and just my overall like kind of aura had changed so much due to being part of an environment that allowed me to grow and learn. So in March of 2019, I co-founded Youth Strike for Climate Manchester, which is still going strong today. We have almost 40 volunteers, which is really incredible to think that it only started with a handful of us. You could count on the fingers how many people were working on Youth Strike in 2019. And it's really quite incredible to see, and it's so significant because it's something for young people, run solely by young people. Like all of our volunteers are 22 and under, and our most active volunteers are in college. So it's really, really quite significant, and I'd never seen something like this happen before, and I didn't realise the potential that young people did have and what young people can actually do if given the opportunity to. So in September of 2019, we managed to organise the biggest global climate mobilisations, and in Manchester it was the biggest climate mobilisation that Manchester had ever seen, with 3,000 to 4,000 people attending our event. Andy Burnham came to our event, and we had loads of different MPs. Extinction Rebellion was at our event, and we partnered with Trees Not Cars, the campaign to try and start Ancoats from being turned into a car park, which has had some really good kind of things happen this year, and a car park isn't going to be built there as of now, which is really, really positive to see, which really does show that social action does work and can cause positive change. But that's kind of how I started on my journey of growth as a person and social action, which is kind of crazy. So things I've been involved from this. So I really have branched out, and I am involved with a lot more social justices actions and organisations. I'm currently part of the Kill the Bill coalition that is happening in Manchester to try and stop the policing bill from being passed in Parliament, which would basically mean that protesting would be really, really hard to do, which is one of our basic human rights. But these are kind of the social justice, climate justice organisations that I've been part of. So Fridays for Future, Youth Strike for Climate, on both a national and international level. I've really got involved with Fridays for Future Digital, which really took off because of COVID. So I was able to develop my press skills, and I was also able to develop my partnership skills as well with outreach. So with the press, I had to contact journalists and news people to try and get the climate crisis on people's screens, in the papers, and then more on a national basis, just helping with kind of the general mundane things of what youth strike groups need, funding and things like that. The next one is Teach the Future, which I really want to get more involved with, but it is a youth-led UK campaign pushing for broad climate education in schools, because we do not believe that the climate crisis isn't taught enough in schools. And as I said, I literally had one kind of science lesson about it, and unless you do A-level geography and go on to do geography at university, you really do not get taught about it, and we do not think that young people and future generations are prepared for the devastations of the climate crisis. So I've worked on my blog skills. I've working with adults as well is very different to working with just young people. So my communication skills has really just improved since working at Teach the Future. And then Climate Live is my newest one, which is an international campaign that was inspired by Live Aid, and we hope to put concerts in 40 different countries on October 16th. So I've been really planning for that, and I am one of the coordinators for the press team, and again working with our PR agency to try and make sure that we get the most coverage as possible, trying to get liaisoning with artists and managers, and being on calls with people in venues. I had the opportunity to have a meeting with Sasha Lord about it, so those sort of opportunities do come far and wide. But I'm also part of Girl Up Manchester and the US programme, which are more to do with social issues, but that's been really great, and I've had those opportunities and I'm forever grateful for them. And then these are the sort of opportunities that I've gotten due to the work that I do. These are only consequences of the work that I do. And this isn't the reason that I went into the work that I do. And I think it's really important to stress that, because there are some people that will do things just for clout, to get a little bit more attention. And that was not my intention at all, and it is never going to be my intention. But I have been featured in local and national media, and that has been a really positive experience, but it is really, really hard to speak to them sometimes, because they really do try and twist your words sometimes. So I've really learned a lot in how to express myself in a way that makes sure that I am being perceived in the way that I want to be. Sorry, police alarms. The next one is panels and talks such as this. So I've been invited to do talks like this and workshops, which is still kind of crazy to me that people want to learn from my experiences. And I did trade unions meetings before COVID happened, and I was able to have the opportunity to speak at two May Day I managed to have the opportunity to speak twice at the May Day event in 2019, which is really, really quite exciting. And then I've been ambassadors to a lot of exciting different projects, which has been really cool experience, and having young people kind of taken seriously in those environments is really, really cool. So how did I actually end up working at Ashoka after my volunteering? So I volunteered for 2 years before I got a paid internship. And I'm really, as I said before, I'm a really true believer of everything happening for a reason. if I hadn't gone to that first climate strike, I never would have co-founded Youth Strike for Climate Manchester. I never would have gotten involved with any of my other climate justice organisations. I never would have been able to do panels or be ambassadors, and I wouldn't be here speaking at this event today. But the main reason I'm with Ashoka today is due to me being an ambassador for an amazing programme called the US Programme, which is a project with a mission to help educate and inspire young women from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I was invited to go to the event in January of 2020, before COVID, just locked down everything. But I went to that event and I was able to network with amazing different people and meet people. And I managed to meet an amazing young person called Liv. And she is the other youth change leader in Manchester. And she posted on her Instagram that there was a job opportunity. And she said that I should apply, which I did. And she was part of the hiring process. She interviewed me. She did my follow-up interview. And it was really quite empowering to see another young person kind of interviewing me and being part of that process. And now I work at Ashoka and I work alongside her, and I will be actually hiring the next youth change leader in Manchester at the end of this month, early July, which I'm so excited to be a part of, because my voice is really getting heard here on who I want to work with. So I've talked a little bit about kind of what a little bit about my work at Ashoka, but not really gone into depth. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of background about Ashoka and kind of why I chose that I wanted to work here. Because for me, I don't want like a normal kind of 9-to-5 job. I find that quite mundane, quite boring. So having the opportunity to work at an environment such as Ashoka is so incredible, and I'm so grateful for it. So Ashoka is a non-governmental organisation founded in 1980, and we work towards the widespreading of skills that support social entrepreneurship and want to have a positive impact on society. And Ashoka has offices in 5 continents and more than 36 different countries, which means that I get to work with people from all over the world, which is kind of incredible. Ashoka identifies patterns and key levers to help society gain a new way of thinking that enables everyone to become a change maker. And I really like how Ashoka functions and how Ashoka works. I really feel like my opinion is actually being taken into account, and I'm being heard, and people don't treat me as a young person. They really do try and treat me like an equal, which is always really good, because whenever you go into an adult organisation or an adult environment as a young person, sometimes you are like coddled and sometimes you are like talked down to, but Ashoka really does see that I do have potential and I can actually do things by myself. So that's really great to see. But what does an Everyone a Change Maker world look like? What even is a change maker? So a change maker is someone who is taking creative action to solve a social problem. And change making involves empathy, thoughtfulness, creativity, taking action, and collaborative leadership. So working together to create change in the world. So what is like a change maker world? Why is that important? So this is a world where more and more people respond effectively, efficiently, and imaginatively to social problems, and where each person has the confident skills and support to drive change for the better. I managed to learn my skills about change making through my volunteer work, but not everybody has the opportunity to do so. And one of the reasons that Ashoka did hire me was because of my background, because I'd been volunteering for 2 years, and that I already had lots of skills that I was able to bring to Ashoka and do things like this. So it's really quite great that my volunteering skills are being used at Ashoka, and they really did see that I was a change maker in my own right, in my own way. So I wanted to share some life skills and lessons that I've learned along the way of my 2.5 years of doing social justice and climate justice activism, and just as a young person as well. So tokenism is such a bad thing. It's such an issue, and adult organizations, maybe sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it, but it can be really, really harmful for young people. So tokenism is essentially when a person is being used simply to tick a box. So say a organization just needed a young person but didn't really care about anything the young person had to really bring. It was literally just making them look good. So I've got a story about this. So one time this is when I was 17, and I was like in the middle of doing my mocks for my first year of sixth form, and I was really, really stressed out, and this organisation wanted me to speak at their event, and I had said no, I can't get there. I didn't have the money anyways, but I was really busy. And as a working class person, like, money is quite tight sometimes, so it's like I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and anything like that. And they really tried to guilt me into coming, because they was like, oh, but we need a young person there, we need a young person there. And it just made me realize they really do not care what I have to say or come and say. They really just want to make sure that they look good and have a young person there at their event. And I've experienced this a number of times, but I have gotten better at saying no to things. And I think it's really quite important to note that writing a speech can take hours out of a young person's life. Getting to the event, speaking at the event takes so much energy and time as well. And a lot of the time, young people are not compensated. It's very much the mentality, oh, they're young, so they'll do it for free. Oh, they're young, this is good exposure. And that really isn't the case. And one of the only times that I got compensated for my time was when I did a university radio interview, where they paid for my transport and they gave me a little bit extra to get some food on my way home. And they're university students, they don't have a lot of money themselves, but they still ended up compensating me. And I think that's really, really telling. The next thing, burnout. Burnout is horrible, and I really wish that I knew more about it when I first started my activism. So burnout is essentially when you kind of you're so tired of doing what you're doing, you have no motivation, and essentially you get in this rut within yourself, and you I can't do any work. So for the September 2019 strike, I spent 3 months of purely doing work. I did not take a break, I did not rest. Every single day I was doing work for this strike. And as I said before, I was in my first year of doing A-levels and mocks, so I was working, but then I also had my mocks, and then I also had a part-time job. So I really just worked myself into the ground, and I didn't end up doing any activism after that September strike until January of the next year, because I just couldn't do it anymore. So I've gotten a lot better. So taking time for myself, I usually try and take a week off every single month where I barely do any activism. And if that's not possible, taking a long weekend. But knowing your limits is so important, knowing how far you can actually push yourself, because it's created such an unhealthy work balance for me, and I had no time for my social life either. So knowing where to stop and where to say no is so important. The next thing that I found really useful in my journey was starting small and finding your place. So I just started with Youth Strike for Climate Manchester, and I stayed there for around about 11 months to a year, where I was solely just doing Youth Strike for Climate Manchester things. So I really did start small, and then I kind of evolved over the past year into doing more things. But finding your niche, finding your place within the whole social justice, climate justice movement can be really daunting. And I found my place with Youth Strike for Climate Manchester, and that will always be my place and my safe place within the activism sphere. And I think it's really important to find that one organisation that you can go to and latch onto. And it's been so integral to me, because the relationships that I've built from Youth Strike for Climate Manchester will last a lifetime. I've formed really close friendships with people that I wouldn't have met otherwise, which is always kind of great to see. The next thing is comfort zones. Before 2019, I was really quite introverted and really shy. I'm still very introverted, but I was very much within myself. I didn't like to confront people. I didn't like to call people out. And I was very much the kid that just sat at the back of the class, didn't say anything, didn't want to say anything, because I was so scared of getting things wrong. But now I've learned that sometimes your comfort zone isn't doing you any favors, and sometimes you have to break from it to get the opportunities. Going to that first strike was so out of my comfort zone, because I had never been to a strike or a protest before, and it was so out of my depth, and I felt so the night before it I was freaking out, and I really was maybe I don't go, and I'm so glad I did. But I really did go out of my comfort zone with that, and I'm so grateful that I did. But for some things, you really do have to set yourself boundaries. As I said, burnout, finding those boundaries is really important. But maybe you go to an event that you might be a little bit uncomfortable at, or maybe you go to an event where you never thought you'd go there. Maybe you join an organisation or join a call with more information about the organisation itself, that maybe you don't feel like you're good enough for, but you are, and you can be. Because I sometimes think that I'm not good enough, and then I join and it's oh no, but I am. And it's really quite hard sometimes to kind of get that mental block out of your head, but you can do it. I've done it, and yeah. The next thing is different types of success. So this is really quite hard to not compare yourself to other people. So take GCSEs, for example. Everyone is talking about the grades. Oh, what did you get for this? What answer did you get? And it's really quite hard. From a young age, we are taught to compare ourselves, and you have to be the best, and really that. But I've really been trying to get out of that mindset, and I just wanted to share it here, because there are different types of success. So let's take a test, for example. Maybe I've only ever got 50 out of 100 on a test, but for this one test I got 55 out of 100. That is such a success for me as a person. But maybe another person usually gets 100 but has now got 90. Maybe that is unsuccessful for them, but that is still a success. But they might not view it as that. So there's different types of success for different types of people, and you've got to just try and not compare yourself. So within the activism sphere, oh, they got a radio interview, but I didn't get offered that radio interview. That is still fine. We're still successful within the activism sphere, and that's okay. Just different opportunities come for different people, and just knowing that that person that had the radio interview doesn't make them more of an activist or less of an activist, or better than you, or worse. It literally just means that they've just had this opportunity to have their voice heard, and opportunities are usually shared within the activism sphere, and sometimes the voices of the unheard are prioritised, and I think it's really important to prioritise those voices, because those people are the most affected by the climate crisis, and by social actions and social issues. And then I've briefly touched about this, but the power of saying no. Again, I'm really bad at this, but I am working on it, and I have become so much better at it. So saying no to opportunities can seem I shouldn't, because what if they never come back to me? What if they choose somebody else and they're awful? What if like I like really want to do it but I don't have the time? So, but again, burnout, like knowing your boundaries and setting them for yourself is really, really important. And I used to say yes to every single opportunity that came my way, because I was always in the mindset is they'll hate me if I don't say yes. I don't want them to dislike me. I want to be able to do this in the future. And sometimes you really just have to like think of yourself rather than other people and what they're going to think of you. So saying no to, maybe you say no to an interview, maybe you say no to speaking at an event and they find somebody else, and that's okay. If you don't have the time, the effort, the energy, the money to even get there, I think it's okay for you to say no. And it's genuinely okay. And if that person really wanted you at the event, really wanted to give you this opportunity, they will respect that and they will just offer you it at a different time. And yeah, so it's okay to say no, and you should say no more often. I should really take my own advice with that, but I have gotten a lot better at it. And those are kind of like the life lessons and skills that I've learned from 2.5 years of activism. So if you take anything from this, like, this is the slide to take away from this. But the other skills that I've learned are the ground skills of how to organize a protest, how to how to liaison with the police, how to talk to the press, how to get speakers there, how to talk to MPs, how to lobby MPs, how to work as a team, how to lead a team, how to get partnerships with different organisations. And I've learned all that, and now I'm developing them even more at Ashoka. And it's been really just empowering to see. But that's kind of it for me with this presentation, and these are some decent-ish photos of me at a climate strike in September. The first freeze in September, and then the other one was when it was very hot in July. No, that was June. That was 2 years ago. Oh gosh, 2 years ago today, the one on the bottom right. That's crazy. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. That was a really excellent presentation. I've got a couple of questions, if you don't mind, and then if anything comes through on the chat from the attendees, we'll ask them as well. So first up, what advice do you have for young people wanting to get involved in social action? Obviously, you've mentioned a lot about how you got involved, but are there particular sites or particular things that you'd recommend, like looking at first, or how people can find their own passion and mission to get involved in as well?
Yeah, so knowing what you're interested in, because I know the environment isn't for everybody, and not everyone is like caring about the environment. But if there's a social issue that you're interested in, whether that be racial justice, whether that be maybe housing issues, classism, there is going to be an organisation that fit your passions and that you're able to engage with. So looking maybe on their websites or their social media pages, and maybe even taking that first step. Do you need any more volunteers to come and work with you? And usually the answer is yes, because we always need more volunteers in like this sort of thing. So for Youth Strike for Climate Manchester, we have like onboarding calls like every 2 months or so, because we have people interested like every so often, and we really want to get more people involved and engaged. So yeah, finding your niche, knowing your niche, and then just going out and searching for them and just taking that first step and messaging them, or even attending a protest or a strike when it's safe to do so, for different issues as well, because you can engage with the different people there and network in that way.
Thank you. Yeah, you've mentioned sort of social media as a tool for that as well, in terms of, you just saw a Facebook post about the strike and the protests originally, and then the Instagram post about the Ashoka job. So it's clearly a useful way for finding out a lot of different things. So can you talk a little bit about how and why you chose your current course in your uni? Because like, obviously not everyone goes to uni, but like you think it's the right choice for you.
Yeah, so I 100% agree that university isn't for everyone. I didn't really know, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And I'd always been fascinated by kind of crimes in society and how social issues were presented in society and how people reacted to it. So criminology and sociology just seem like the best pick for me. And I'm really fascinated by green criminology. So this is corporations basically doing crimes against the environment, but they get away with it. And I'm really fascinated by how society reacts to that and why that happens. Why does the government allow the corporations to continue doing so much damage? So I'm really interested in green criminology, and when we did a lecture on it, and I was so excited about it, and I know I sound very nerdy about it, but like I'm literally doing a degree in it. But then sociology, I've like already started thinking about my dissertation, and it's how like governments respond to young people and how kind of like activists in different countries like go about doing social actions and creating change in their own communities. And that's kind of like why I picked it. And it really does link with the volunteering, because maybe I don't know if I'd picked it if I hadn't done my volunteering. So yeah.
Cool. And have you had any other jobs?
I used to work at a flower shop before COVID, so it was my first job and I loved it, and it was very much to do with nature and plants again, so it really I just like link all my jobs together apparently, and my volunteering, but that was my first job, but then COVID happened, so.
Sorry, I was just muted there, just like making appreciative noises. I like that you've got involved from the beginning. I have another question. It's kind of like a general one. So you've talked about how you feel at Ashoka, that you feel sort of supported as a young person and they hear your voice. Do you think that that's something that other employers should be doing, and how do you think that young people might be able to advocate for that?
Yeah, I've not seen many corporations, employers doing that for young people. It's very much like, oh, we'll give you an internship, but you have to do it for free. And it's like, but like, I'm doing work for you, so why aren't I getting paid? And usually, like, young people are very much dismissed in those type of environments. But with Ashoka, I'm literally called a youth change leader, and just having that in the title is really empowering and really like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so at Ashoka, like I go to meetings and they specifically ask for my opinion about things and they write it down and then we discuss it. And I really wish that more employers did it. And I'm so lucky to have a paid internship. And I think it's really important to highlight that, because young people usually do not get offered this. And it's very much like, oh, you're a young person, you'll do it for free. It's experience for you. But it's like, I'm literally doing so much work. And then I've heard about reversed internships or whatever, where like you pay the employer to do an internship. Like, I just heard about this like the other week and I was like, what are you doing? But yeah, I really wish there was more like paid internships, and like apprenticeship like pays worth higher as well, because they're literally doing so much work. And I just wish employers like saw that.
I don't know what to say to that. Yes, yes, paid internships and apprenticeship pay. Probably something you can't get into politically, but yeah, thank you for that insight. Let me see if there's anything else on my little list. We haven't had anything come through, unfortunately, but it's been a really, I found this such an interesting session, so thank you very, very much. And for your insight into kind of the skills and the opportunities that have come your way, but also the little things that you've picked up, particularly around power of saying no. I think that's really important. So to the audience, thank you again for coming. All sessions today will be recorded and available on our website GMACS, and also on our YouTube channel for you to watch back. We also have a Learn Live broadcast this afternoon, featuring videos from employers such as Avanti, Alpha, BT and Stockport Council, as well as many others, and the videos we'll be showing live from 1:30 till 3. You can find out more about Ashoka and their programme online at ashoka.org, and you can keep up to date with other Meet Your Future opportunities at gmacs.co.uk and on Twitter and Instagram, those lovely social media platforms at your GMACS. So thank you again, Charlotte. I don't know if there's anything finally that you want to say, but it has been a real pleasure to listen to you and learn from you today. So thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of your summer.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks everybody. See you later.